Hi there everyone, and welcome to the sixth tutorial in the Sound for Beginners tutorial series. And in this tutorial I'm going to continue on the previous script that we saved and compiled. So on the first line we can see that it says hashtag include asam, and this is going to include the asam include. Now asam is going to include almost all of the native functions, but one thing which I find kind of funny is that it does not include the function at the top of the native functions library, which is HTTP. Now, how can you tell if something is included or not? Well, that's something I'm going to cover in later in the tutorial. So for now, we're just going to type a comment here, and to type a comment on one line, you do slash slash and then write your text. So I'm just going to type, this is going to include all the necessary native functions. Okay, so we're done with the first line. Moving on to the next one is main. Now the main is actually something called a callback. And a callback is something which is called when something happens. Now this has a kind of funny name, the main one. And the reason why it has the main name is actually kind of fitting, because this is the first callback which is called, and this is called by the server. So this is where you can put your first code, and this code is going to be executed first for sure. You then have other callbacks, such as, and their namings are very suitable. You can see here that it says on game mode init. Well, I guess you could guess your way on to what this is going to be, but if you didn't, then this is going to be when the game mode is starting. And you have all these callbacks here, and the first time you open the script you might think like, oh my god, I'm never going to learn this, but basically they have just repeated the same thing over and over again, just changed one line on each. And the line that's going to be changed is just basically a text which is describing the function very well. So you shouldn't be afraid, because like this one, let's just take a random one. I'm taking this one, on vehicle mod. Well, this is probably when someone mod a vehicle. You see, it's really simple.
Damn it, Gump!
And
You're a goddamn
if we go
genius.
down, we can
That's
take
the most
this one, on
outstanding answer
dialog
I've ever heard.
response.
You must have
Well,
a
it's
goddamn
probably
IQ
when
of
you do a
160.
response on a
You are
dialog.
goddamn gifted,
So
Private
all
Gump.
these are just to make it simpler for you. So what you have to do is to decide where you want to put your code in an appropriate callback. Now I know that's kind of much to learn for now, so we're going to slow down and go back to this main function. Just remember that everything starts within this main function, and it starts with a bracket which is pointing inwards, and one which is pointing outwards is ending it. Now this is the first function that we will be learning. This is the print function. This is going to write something in the console. Now if you want, you can just edit these ones, but I'm going to create a completely new one. All you have to do really is to first write print, and since we have an IDE, it can actually help us and tell us which arguments we want to use. And to do this, you don't do two parentheses but just one, and then you wait a second, and here you see that it says that it wants a string. Now to do a string, remember, all you have to do is to do speech marks. We then end it with a semicolon. So now we can just write something in here. So let's write, this is our first game mode. Okay, so cool. So now we have written our first line here in the code, and we understand what includes are, or this include does, and we know what callbacks are, and we can find some callbacks here. So now we're just going to save this and compile it. And it compiled without any problems. So we're going to go to our Pono directory. I'm sorry, the game modes directory. And as you can see here, I have my file, which is called prima.amx, and you should have your file, which is also an AMX file. And what you want to do is to make sure that firstly, if you compile it in a porno directory, you should make sure that you put the AMX file in your game modes directory. You then edit your server.config, and now what you have to do is to actually change this grand log text here to the text of your game mode. So mine is Prima. You then save it and start the server. As you can see here, now it says this is our first game mode. Okay, so awesome, we just printed something in the console. That was our first function that we ran on ourselves, so that's real cool. And then we head back to Panang, and now I'm going to describe the rest of the code. Firstly, to make the code less scary, we're going to remove this line here that says don't use these lines if it's a filter script. Secondly, we're going to take a look at this one. Set game mode text. Well, basically this is going to set the game mode's text, and this is going to be displayed in the client. So if you were to open the client, you know you can see the host name, and you can also see the game mode name. So the host name might be something like Prima, the coolest server, and the game mode might be Prima version 2.0. So we're just going to write, instead of blank script, we're just going to do Prima version 1.0. And I'm also going to show you how you can dynamically change this. Well, not really dynamically, but how you can define this so that you can change this easily. Because otherwise you will have to go back here and change this all the time. And so this is just going to set the game mode text, and it's never a bad idea to comment things. However, if they are obvious, and I don't mean to insult anyone here, but set game mode text is pretty obvious, so you don't have to comment that this is going to set the game mode text. However, include asmp doesn't really say anything about native functions. You get me? And print is actually also very, very self-explanatory. So yeah, we're going to leave that as it is. And then we have add player class, and also down here we have set player position, set player camera position, as well as set player camera look at. And I have actually done something kind of funny, and I have made a paint picture here, and this paint picture is going to explain all of it. So the first thing is add player class. Now this is going to add a player class which people will be able to select. Now the first parameter, and actually we can take help of the IDE if we want to. So if we just do add player class and then 1 semicolon, we can see here that the first parameter or argument is the model ID. Now you might ask yourself, where the hell do I get these model IDs? Well, to get the skin idea, all you have to do is to write sa-mp skins column all. You then choose the first result in Google, and then you will get a list of all the skins with a picture and the ID. Now I'm just going to choose a random one, so I'm going to choose ID 39. Okay, so I'm going to write 39 here, and now we want coordinates, and actually we can use the ones that we saved in the previous tutorial. So what we want to do is to go to, and if you don't have any coordinates, if you didn't watch mine, you can use your own, or you can just copy the one above here. And to do so, you just copy all of these. This is the X, Y, Z, and rotation. Copy these, put here, and then you just follow along in the tutorial. But for those who want to learn how you can use the saved coordinates, all you have to do is to go to your documents. What you want to do is to go to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas user files, and then you go to SAMP and save positions. And now what you want to do is to get the police officer in front of the house, remember? Now if we want to, we can just take this code and paste it, because it is add player class, and we could just paste it if we want to. But remember, we want skin 39, and we might take a look at the weapons as well. So I'm not going to be lazy this time. So for learning purpose, we're going to not copy and paste. So the first one was the skin, remember? We're not going to use that one. What we are going to use is the next one, which is X, and this is a float because you can tell by the point. And then we're going to use the Y one as well as the Z one and the rotation. We copy this, paste it in, and now we want a weapon and the ammo and another weapon and ammo and another weapon and ammo and so forth. Now to get the weapon ID, all you have to do is to write SA-MP weapons, and then the first result should be weapons SEMP Wiki. Go in here and we choose something that we want the player to have access to, and I'm just going to give him one pair of flowers. Okay, so all you have to do is do 14-1. So you give one flower, and then we're just going to do 0 on the rest, and then we're going to end. And now we're going to save and compile. If you get any errors, you can copy my code if you want to, or you can just rewind the tutorial and take a look at that. However, if it worked, then congratulations. Going back to this paint picture, now we have actually set the X, Y, Z, R, the skin, as well as the guns for the player. So now, if the player chooses this class here, he will spawn with those attributes. But you might ask yourself, well, how the fuck does he choose this location? Well, it's actually really simple. When the player is requesting a class, and this is a callback, this is going to happen when the player is requesting a class. Now it's going to set the player's position to X, Y, Z here, and it's going to set the camera's position to this location here, and the look at this position here. So the camera, let's take the picture up again. So basically what it's going to do is to set the player's position to X, Y, Z, and remember we have already gotten the X, Y, Z here, so if we want to use that one, those ones we can. However, we cannot use it on the camera position and look at, because we also have to set the camera's position, and remember, if we set the camera's position on the player, we're not going to see the player because the camera is in the player. And then we have the look at, and that's where the camera should look at. And perhaps we want the player, perhaps we want something else. It all depends on the angle you want on the camera. You can then click left and right and choose your skin, and you should spawn with that particular class. So that's basically it, and the rest is just empty callbacks that we can use. For instance, we can do on player enter vehicle, so when someone is entering a vehicle we can do something. So that's it, and now you should know the library, you should know what the include asmp does, you should know the main function, which is starting, which is kind of the starting point, and you should know how to print something in the console, and you should know what the on-game mode init, as well as the add player class, set player pose, set player camera pose, and set player camera look at. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial we're going to do our first command. So thank you for watching and have a nice day.